Have you ever felt like there's this invisible set of rules at work? The ones that everyone else seems to just get? Like there's a hidden blueprint somewhere that explains everything, from who gets ahead to why your team has a certain vibe. Well, you're not wrong. That blueprint is real, and today we're going to lay it all out.
Just think about it for a second. What if, on your first day at a new job, they handed you a user manual? Not just for the coffee machine, but for the entire company. A guide that explains how to navigate your boss's quirks, your team's dynamics, and even how you fit into the whole picture. That'd be a game changer, right? Well, guess what? That manual totally exists. It might not be a spiral-bound book, but it's a whole field of science. It's called industrial organizational psychology, or let's be real, we just call it IO psychology for short. And it's basically the science of people at work. So, what exactly is this blueprint? Let's dive in and break down what IO psychology is all about and how it's secretly shaping our entire work life. Okay, don't let the formal definition trip you up. There are really only two parts you need to remember: scientific study and solve practical problems. This means it's not just a bunch of theories or guesswork. IO psychology uses actual data to figure out why we do what we do at work, and then uses that knowledge to fix real issues. The easiest way to think about it is like a bridge. On one side of the river, you've got pure psychology, all the deep stuff about why humans think and feel the way they do. And on the other side, you have the day-to-day needs of a business. Hitting targets, keeping people from quitting. IO psychology is the bridge that connects those two worlds. It turns all those deep psychological insights into actual practical strategies. All right, let's zoom the lens way in, because before you can understand an organization, you have to start with the single most important building block: the individual. That's right, we're talking about the psychology of you. What makes you tick? So pillar number one is your foundation. This is like your personal operating system. It's all the biological and cognitive stuff. How getting enough sleep actually affects your decision-making, or the way your brain learns a new piece of software, even the way you interpret an email from your boss. It all starts right here at this fundamental level. Now, sitting right on top of that foundation is your drive. This is your engine. It's what actually gets you out of bed and ready to tackle that big project. It's a combination of what motivates you, how you handle your emotions when things get stressful, and whether the work you're doing actually lines up with your personal values. And the third pillar, of course, is your personality. There are all kinds of theories about this, but the big takeaway is that there's no single best personality for a job. It's all about the right fit. The whole key to thriving at work is finding a role in a company that lets your specific personality shine. And all of this leads us to this really important concept called work adjustment. This is the goal, right? It's that sweet spot where your personality, your skills, and your abilities are a perfect match for what your job and your company need. When you hit that, work just flows. Okay, so we've looked at the individual, but none of us works in a complete vacuum. So let's zoom the lens out a little bit and look at how all of us, with our individual blueprints, come together to form the psychology of a team. A team doesn't just randomly happen. It actually follows a pretty predictable pattern. A bunch of individuals show up, and pretty quickly, the group starts to create its own unwritten rules, its own way of making decisions, and even its own way of dealing with disagreements. I guarantee every single team you've ever been on has gone through this exact process. And of course, the leader's style has a huge impact on how that team develops. You can see here, an authoritative leader might get things done fast, but morale could take a hit. A democratic leader might make everyone feel included, but decisions can take forever. There's no one right answer. It's all a trade-off depending on the situation. Okay, so we've gone from the individual to the team. Let's zoom out one last time and look at the biggest picture of all. We're talking about the massive external forces, like national culture and laws, that shape the entire work environment. A perfect example of this is the South African context. Any workplace there has to deal with this incredibly diverse, multicultural workforce, plus very specific labor laws and ethical codes. Now, the details might be unique to South Africa, but the idea is universal. Every single organization is deeply influenced by the country and culture it exists in. So we've seen the blueprint, from the individual to the team, all the way out to the cultural context. But what's the point of knowing all this? Well, the point is to use it, to actually take this knowledge and start designing better, healthier, and more effective places to work. And that's where employee wellness comes in. IO psychology gives us real, concrete strategies to make work suck less. We can build systems to manage stress before it leads to burnout. We can create a culture where it's actually okay to talk about mental health. And this isn't just some nice, fluffy stuff. It's absolutely essential for any company that wants to succeed long term. Ultimately, it all comes down to this. Once you can see the hidden psychological blueprint of your workplace, you're not just a passive player anymore. You have the tools to understand what's going on, to navigate it better, and maybe even help improve the design for everyone. Look, knowledge is power, and now you have a map to the invisible forces that shape so much of your life. So the real question is, what are you going to build with it? How will you use this blueprint to create a better career for yourself? And maybe, just maybe, a better workplace for everyone around you?